Hey YouTube, sing a little ditty. Trust and obey, for there's no other way to be happy in Jesus but to trust and obey. What a friend we have in Jesus. All our sins and griefs to bear. What a privilege to carry everything to God in prayer. Okay, we're going to talk about prayer. Years ago, I went to a Calvary Chapel. I won't say which one. And the music there was amazing. Oh, but you know what? Let me back up a little bit before I get too far. I hope you guys saw the first sin video, what the first sin was, so we do know about, like how Satan was cast down from heaven, right? You do remember that, right? Well, the 503Cs, they've always got these little neat little tricks. Well, you see, when I was a kid and I went to church, choirs were volunteer, and they had people come, and they would just sing from the joy of their heart to the Lord for free. Oh, by the way, while we're on that subject, since I haven't mentioned it before, because I love to talk about things like the love of God and money. One of the reasons I like to talk about that because I see a lot of the love of God and money, you know what I mean? And I see it in the church. And when I taught, Awana, I was a Awana leader, and I did volunteer. But I noticed that there was like a lack of love for God in these people's hearts. It seemed more like they were more in love with those four walls that I just painted. Do you understand what I'm saying? So, I went to this church, and at this Calvary Chapel, see, now that they don't have choir volunteers anymore, they made them worship pastors. Isn't that an interesting combination of words? From choir member to worship pastor. It's almost like somebody else had a title like that. Lucifer. In fact, he was even head of the singing. Interesting. So anyway, I'm getting a little off topic. So I went to this Calvary Chapel, and the music was literally amazing. I mean, it was such a show. They were selling CDs, literally. I mean, after the service, like full on. It could compete with Toby Mac, if you know who he is. I think he's great. Some of his stuff, just that's a good one for right now. Get Up and Run, I don't know, or Get Up and, I think it's something like that. I actually use it when I run. Because like when I'm slacking off, I need to sprint a little more. Come on, keep going. Get up and run. It's like something like that. I can't remember. Get Up and Move or something like that. And it's a good thing for right now because we need some of that. I see a lot of Christians like, well, judgment's coming. We've done our part. So guess I'll just go, I think I got a hole in the ground in the backyard. See you guys later. I'll pray for y'all. Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's how God planned it all. You see what I mean? Okay, so I'm off topic again. So we're going back to the 503c, and they're singing, right? And it's amazing. The music is just wow. So then the preacher starts preaching, and I'm like, man, that's kind of like I was listening to it, and I was like, geez, I've heard better stuff on the radio, and I'm not a fan of radio preaching. So, I was kind of like, well, I get like a really weird thing happens to me when I hear bad preaching. I just get like fire in my belly. And a lot of times I send emails to pastors and I'll go talk to them and stuff. And you know what? A lot of times they get really upset with me because I'm a troublemaker. And I think somebody in the Bible was called a troublemaker too. I think it was somebody on God's side, if I remember right. So anyway, I went there for a while, and I thought, and I've always read, about like great pastors like Whitefield and Spurgeon, and Whitefield. I think I told that story in another video. I hope I don't remember. Yeah, I think I did. Whitefield came to this town, and he needed to preach to a lot of people, and so the Wesleys, they started the Wesleyan Church, and they believed that you can't preach outside the four walls because God won't hear you when you pray if you're outside or something. Like, who do you think you are, Jesus? I mean, it's just kind of a weird thing. I don't understand the whole conversation. But Whitefield, he was like, I don't care what you say. I'm going out there and I'm preaching. And he went in this big park, and more people than had ever come to hear preaching came, and they were like falling down, they were like, oh, I love God. I mean, it was crazy. And you know what he was preaching? One of his favorite lines was, the biggest demon in the world is self-love. Sounds a lot like what we were talking about with that Lucifer guy. Self-love, pride, blasphemy, all those kind of things anyway. So I'm trying to stay focused here. Okay, so I heard this preaching for a while. I thought, this guy needs a prayer. So what I did is I started a prayer meeting. So while this guy was preaching, we would pray for him that he would preach better. I didn't preach like that. I mean, I didn't pray I didn't preach like that. But you see what I'm saying? I would pray that God would help the Holy Spirit move and all that kind of stuff. You learn how to pray in a way that's good, but it's not, you don't want to pray in too many words and all that kind of stuff, Here's the funny. Okay, so, are you still there? Okay, I'm not seeing myself. I'm losing it. So, I had this prayer meeting for a while, right? And I had it during the morning while they were preaching. And there's actually a room, it's called a prayer room, right? And so I'd be praying with like 2 or 3 people, right? And somebody would come, there would come a couple, to come find a place to neck, And they walk in the room, into the prayer room, to pray. To neck, whatever. Both, whatever. And so we're in there praying on our knees on the floor, and they come in, and they're mad that we are using the prayer room to pray. So that was like a red flag. You know what I'm saying? So I just kept praying, and I was like, please, Lord, help. Well, things were not getting better. And I knew somebody that he had a girlfriend, and she wanted him to go there. And so I was like, hey, what do you think? Because I don't want to be too judgmental, because I can be like that, especially to preachers, because a lot of people don't know that the Bible says that a preacher is to be held at a higher standard than the rest of us, because they have studied to show themselves approved, as we all are to do. But when you've studied that much to where you're speaking for God, and you have an actual like title like that, because I don't have a title. I've never went to any school or anything. So just so you know, I'm not an actual pastor. I wrote that in one of those. I did that more like, I'll be honest, it was wake up clickbait. Clickbait. Need to come up with a good term. Wake up bait or something. Because I'm trying to get people to wake up. Because judgment's coming. And everybody's sleeping. And they're already halfway zombies. And if you talk to them, a lot of times, if I'm not talking any softer than this, it's not going to work. So that's why I talk the way I do, to make sure I'm catching some attention. It's not that I have attention disorder, but, well, maybe I do too. But anyway, I'm not going to take any pills, I'll tell you that. So, and we're losing time here. I'm going all over. But my point is that one day this guy preached on Genesis 3, when Adam and Eve sinned, and then after they sinned, if you remember, it says that they hid themselves. And then in the cool of the day, when God visited them, see, that means that every day they were talking to God. Okay, that's like fellowship. You know, you just talk to people. You just know people, right? And so they hid in the garden, and God came and said, hey, where'd you go? Now, do you really think he didn't know where they were? If he knew that Satan thought he could take over heaven and cast them out of heaven 1 second? No, he knew where they were. He was just kind of, being nice. And they were like, oh, here we are, right there. And, so what happened? You sin and all that, right? All that stuff, right? But the point of that is that the reason that they weren't walking in the garden is because they sinned, and they were hiding because of their sin, because they needed to confess their sin to get right with him, to be with him again, right? I mean, it's normal. But there's obviously some prayer things going on there, right? We need to pray. We need to talk to God, okay? And this guy preached that sin is the worst thing, and man is just messed up. And it's, thank God we have Jesus. What? Where'd you get that? Off a milk carton? What the heck is that? Talk about milk toast. Dude, there's a Bible verse that says you gotta stop drinking milk after a while and start eating some meat. I mean, you can only suck on the titty for a couple of years for some people, but that's like a lot. And it seems like a lot of Christians have been milking the titty. Well, I'm drinking milk when I fast, but you don't need to be. You know what I'm saying? You should be having some solid food by now spiritually. So when I heard that preaching, I was like, that's pretty bad, right? So I sent him an email. I said, what the heck? I said, do you need to read some books on prayer or something? Because there's obviously prayer in that thing. And he called me up and was fire yelling at me. And I was like, what's up with, what are you so upset about? He goes, I know what I'm talking about. And all this stuff. And I said, well, did you see the books that I told you on the email? And he goes, I've read books 3 feet thick. Well, not 3 feet, but I mean something like that. It was just, whatever. And I said, wow, okay, well, I just thought you should read these books because, and you know what he said? He said, I don't think prayer is that important. I literally fainted, like in my heart, because I was talking to a pastor on the phone, which means that I knew that God heard what I was saying on the phone, but I also knew that he did not believe that God knew what he just said on the phone, because if I thought that, I'd be thinking I'd be struck dead. Literally, okay? So literally, I walked away from that church and I prayed, God, you know what? I don't think you should make him pastor anymore. Now I didn't like curse him or nothing, but I don't think you should be having him preaching. You know, that was just. And actually, within a couple of years, he wasn't preaching anymore. And a couple of years later, he did die. Now he had some health conditions. But the other thing about his church was that whenever I talk to somebody and say, you know, that preaching the other day, I don't know. And they'd always say, oh, he's the best pastor ever. What are you talking about? Because, we've been praying for him and he's all, you know, literally worship. And that other guy that I said, hey, how do you like that church? And he goes, well, the preaching's not that good, but the singing is amazing. You know that Lucifer choir that they pay and call them pastors? I'm just kidding. So what I'm trying to say is, be very wary of these 503 churches. Because I'm getting the feeling from God that they're all going to be gone. Because God's tired of the fakeries. Because, see, I'm a painter, and I know all about faux finishes. And I've painted for plenty of billionaires. So I know the difference between faux and a really good paint job. And so, God, you know, paint covers a multitude of sin. Well, that's an old saying. But it's actually kind of true if it's the right paint. So, let's keep that blood on our hearts. Keep our spirit filled. And find a good church. Get on a good chat like KJ's What Happened or something. Some of you get encouraged. Or Torah to the Tribes. That Matthew Nolan. Something that's going to feed. Because this is the time to feed on meat. You want to be like fired up. Because we're going into battle. And God needs wholehearted battle. I mean, you got to think Braveheart kind of stuff. You know, like, we got to be like battle ready. I mean, you don't, you know, Braveheart doesn't want no half-hearted whatever. No. He wants a full-on. That's what I gotta think. Okay, you gotta think like that. You gotta be single-minded. You should be working out, especially if you're a man. I don't think God's gonna make women go to war or anything, but I think if you're a man, you should be in pretty good shape because you're gonna be serving your king. So that's part of why I think God told me to get ready because, you know, we need to be ready to fight or flight, whatever he's going to take. Because he said he's coming with a sword, right? And we don't know how it's going to happen. We're going to get caught up. When you get super bodies, doesn't mean he's going to get rid of all your chub. I mean, whatever, you know? So let's think about these things. Let's get ready with a little better perspective. And get in the right church where you're going to grow. Feed on the Word. How much of the Word do you get every day? Do you know that you can put your audio Bible on all night long? Listen to Psalms starting on Psalm 1 when you go to sleep. And when you wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning, it's like on Psalm 120. And you know what? It's almost like you slept in heaven. And you know what? It helps you sleep better than sleeping pills. And you know what? All the moments you're not asleep, you're learning the Word. Oh dear. That could be dangerous for some of these 503c types. Because you know that poem, Wide is the Road, that goes to destruction? I think it's called 503c. Have a great night. And please pray up. And remember, when you pray, spend a little time in adoration. Thank God for how great he is. Because remember, he's greater than you. Because AI is trying to say that it's the same level. So we need to keep putting him up, keep him up in our heads. Because we got plenty of people trying to equal him to us. And that's not true. So, do some worship, say, you are, I like to start my prayer. You alone are worthy of all praise, all glory, all honor. And that just kind of covers it all. And from then you can just kind of go into your, from there you go Acts. What's the Acts? Acts confession. Search my heart, oh God, see if there's any wicked way in me and lead me in the everlasting way, right? And then you got the Acts, and then see T. What's T? Thanksgiving, right? And you got, Thanksgiving. So thank you for all these things. And you can do that anytime. It's a good soul cleaner too, You just have you ever just like sat down one morning and just start thanking things? As many things you think of? Just, wow, what am I thankful for today? You go through all these kind of things, And then wrap it up with a supplication. All those people that you saw, are you going on chats? You should be going on chats and get people to pray for. Get the prayers going. Come on. We should be flooding everything with prayers. You should be walking by people in mass praying. This is a time to pray. Read Daniel 10 and pray over it, because Prince of America and Prince of Babylon and Prince of Persia, they're all really strong. And they were with Daniel when he was fasting and praying and having angels talk to him. We're there now. So we got to get praying. I love you guys. Keep it up.